Hello, Roger. How are you?
Comrades. Friends.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Are you a Motorhead fan?
I don't mind Motorhead.
Okay.
I'm more of an Allman Brothers guy,
Oh.
but I could do some Motorhead.
Okay, so you're like a Southern rock guy, but you can go into heavy metal once in a while.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I'm more in the R&B tradition. I like that Memphis sound.
What do you when you're hanging out with Julian Assange? What do you guys listen to?
Yeah, you never met Julian Assange, never spoke to him, never
What?
emailed with him, so I couldn't really say what his musical tastes are.
You know, I read your explanation of that. Can you explain it? Because now...
So like it came up again because
Yes.
In the Sam Nunberg stuff, they said that when they were trying to get his emails, and he had that meltdown, which we'll talk to you about, that he had mentioned that there were emails with you and Julian Assange, I believe.
Yeah, except for there aren't.
What?
Let's take this from the top. I testified, as you recall, for 4.5 hours behind closed doors for the House Intelligence Committee. Remember, I wanted that to be in public, and had it been, right now we'd have no controversy at all. But they're the ones who insisted that, no, we get to malign you in public, call you a Russian agent and a traitor, but you have to answer the questions behind closed doors, and we won't release the transcript of that. You're not allowed to see the transcript of that. So I testified for 4.5 hours completely truthfully, and I submitted documents per their request that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that not only have I never met Assange, never spoken to him, never emailed with him, but I had no advance notice of the content or the source or the exact timing of the WikiLeaks disclosures that so thoroughly rocked Hillary's campaign.
This is when they hacked the top emails, and they wound up finding out it was a Russian hacker.
Well, it's alleged that
Okay.
it is hacked. That is disputed. There's some scientific question about that. But either way, I had no previous knowledge of that, never received anything from WikiLeaks, never therefore passed anything on to Donald Trump or the Trump campaign. Those are the indisputable facts, and they don't change. Now, Sam Nunberg comes out of the woodwork. He has a TV performance that is somewhere between Howard Beale and Network saying I'm mad as hell that I'm not going to take this anymore, and an Andy Kaufman stand-up routine. It's all over the place. They have something on the president. They have nothing on the president. The president did something, but I don't know what it is.
And it's
no, this doesn't lead to the president. I mean, Sam, it was painful to watch this guy's mental breakdown.
Well, isn't he? He's loyal to you,
right? It's interesting that you're saying this because part of his breakdown was talking about how loyal he is to you, like Jim just said, and that you're his mentor. He said,
"Yes, don't look at any of his stuff. He's my mentor."
That's not helpful.
Yeah, I guess it's not
I
helpful.
hope he's not in trouble because I love the guy. Okay, Sam, we get it. Now, the point is, we're in this new journalism. Let me tell you how this works.
Yeah.
Proof and evidence no longer matter. Just the charge is what's important.
The accusation,
Somebody says you did something completely without corroboration. By the way, there are no emails that prove anything. When the Washington Post calls you and says, we have two people we can't identify, and they say you took a crap in the woods, and they claim that they have emails that prove you took a crap in the woods, could you comment on that, please? The answer is no. You can't answer nameless, faceless people. I figured out who their two witnesses are. One of them is the hapless Sam Nunberg, who walked it back. I mean, this is true. Sam, when he worked with you, would call you 30, 40 times a day.
Oh.
Like, what's going on? What's going on? Sam, don't call me if you have nothing to talk about. No, what's going on? So one Friday, late in the afternoon, when I was trying to get him off the phone for his 45th call that day, and he said, so what do you have plans for the weekend? I said, and the Post gets this wrong, I said, yeah, I think I'll fly to London and have dinner with Julian Assange. That's a throwaway line.
Sure.
That's called shtick.
Right. That's like when
No one in their right mind
when you
that's
open.
true.
It would be like when you opened the call just now and said, "Hey, comrades." I mean, "Hey,
Right.
guys."
Yeah.
And we went to the news and said he called us
He
comrades.
thinks we're Russians.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, my passport, the surveillance cameras at the Ecuadorian embassy, airport records, all of that would prove that I never left the country in 2016 or 2015 for that matter. Have never met Julian Assange, never spoke to him, never emailed with him.
Is Sam Nunberg
Sam
a little
now takes that as the truth
Yeah.
and presumably tells the investigators for the special prosecutor Stone said he went to London to meet Assange. Now he props up another guy, this fellow remains faceless. The Post describes him as a colleague of mine, and in another place they describe him as an associate of mine. I figured out who it is. He's a virulent critic of mine and one of my worst enemies. I guess they don't do much checking there at the Post.
Would you say his name?
And he describes an email to the Post. He doesn't show it to them. That's because it doesn't exist.
Roger, who is he?
The whole thing is bogus.
Name names, Roger. Name names.
Who is he?
Right.
Who's the guy?
But now what happens is you get this entire pack of bloodthirsty left-wing lynch mob types, Washington Post opinions, Salon, Slate, Politico, Mother Jones, and the absolute worst of them all, this odious, drooling creep, Ari Melber on MSNBC.
Oh, wow.
And they just jump onto this like it's fact. They recycle it. So, for example, Nunberg says in a freewheeling interview, yeah, I think Stone might be a subject of the investigation. Yeah, he's definitely a subject. Headline, Stone the subject of Mueller probe. Now that becomes Stone targeted by Mueller. It's all mainstream media, lynch mob nonsense. It's like they're like a pack of wild hyenas nipping at my heels. Now this becomes the norm. So one of the guys who's the co-director of that great Netflix film, Get Me, Roger Stone.
I've heard good things.
He comes out on MSNBC and says, yeah, Stone told me he wanted to meet with Assange. He offers no corroboration and no proof, but you got to give the guy credit. It got him on TV, and he gets to plug his movie just before it's up for an Emmy, because that decision will be made imminently. Brilliant PR.
So who's
Not
this?
True, of course.
Yeah,
who's this enemy that started this whole thing that people didn't research properly?
The second person.
All in due time, my pretty. All in due time.
Oh my gosh!
And also,
you are...
I have a question a bit off the subject because I think you'll have an insight into it. How much of a problem is Stormy Daniels for the president? Because it seems like this is not going away.
Well, I was kind of hoping that she would challenge Lindsey Graham for the U.S. Senate because the headline, Will Daniels storm Lindsey's log cabin, was just too great an opportunity.
There it is.
But I don't think she's going to do it. You know what is amazing to me is that nobody seems to care. In other words, here we have a situation in which it appears like the president raw dogged a porn star.
That's right.
His wife was, was with child.
Right.
And the president's approval rating continues to climb based on the economy, the breakthrough in North and South.
What is wait? What is the president's approval rating right now? Because
we hear different numbers.
Yeah, because I hear from you that it continues to climb, but then I heard on the news that it's very, very low.
Well, but look, polling is subjective. It depends on the order of the questions, it depends on the wording of the questions, depends on the validity and balance in the sample. The two or three polls that I do kind of watch based on having respect for their methodology, showing the president hovering around 50.
How come Sam Nunberg said 30?
But Sam Nunberg said a lot of things that don't make sense.
Oh.
I mean, you can find pollsters that show him at 30. You can find pollsters like Gravis and others that show him near 50. There's no question that his approval ratings are rising in the face of all this news. In a certain sense, the developments in Korea, the trip to the border wall, a booming economy with over 2 million jobs created, these things seem to be canceling the Stormy Daniels question out. Now, whether the Stormy Daniels allegations are legally problematic, that I cannot tell you. I don't know. Yeah,
because people don't. You're right. I think people don't really seem to care too much.
Yeah,
it's almost like this.
It's not a shock that Donald Trump might have had sex with a porn
star. I don't think most people give a shit.
Yeah, so you've got this new situation in which anyone can go out and make an allegation without corroboration or truth. Judges call this hearsay, But then you have numbnuts like Ari Melber sit there and say, well, this is legally significant. No, it isn't, Ari. Anybody can come on TV and say anything without corroboration or proof, but that doesn't make it legally significant. It makes it hearsay.
Now, tell me, Roger, and I'm going based on your comments because I don't know the guy. Is Sam Nunberg a little slow on the uptick?
No, actually, he's an idiot savant. He's brilliant.
But
he's a terrific genius. He's an extraordinarily good writer, researcher, wordsmith. He's a very, very talented guy.
Uh-huh.
He's just dealing with his demons. He's got demons, and he clearly needs some help, but he's not a bad person.
I see.
And he's smoking the media pipe now. Yesterday, to get one more day of the cycle, now Sam is on TV saying, I told Stone repeatedly I was concerned about his contacts with WikiLeaks. No, you didn't, Sam. You never expressed any opinion whatsoever. We never discussed it. But, hey, it got you on CNN, so just keep talking.
Have you reached out to him at all?
My lawyers have urged me not to speak to him. I don't want to be in a position of anyone saying, oh, you were trying to, affect the testimony of a guy who might be a witness. I haven't been subpoenaed. There's been no subpoena for my records. But on the other hand, not only have I turned all my records over to the various congressional committees, but back in January of 2017, the New York Times reported on page 1 that I had been the subject of a FISA warrant, and therefore I've always operated on the assumption that the government has already seen all of my emails and phone messages and text messages. And that's why I can sleep at night. You see, I've never met Julian Assange. I've never flown to London to meet him. I've never received anything whatsoever from WikiLeaks. By the way, when I said that, a Washington Post reporter writes, Stone said he never received anything whatsoever. You notice he didn't rule out allegedly hacked emails.
Oh.
Moron. Any covers everything. But they don't quite get that.
Didn't Nunberg say he was going...
The nitpicking going on here is pretty amazing.
Sorry, Roger. Didn't Nunberg say he was going to rehab, too? Like, what happened with that?
He did say he was going to go to rehab. Look, I hope he finds professional help. He clearly needs it. He's a talented guy, and he could have a great future. But he's a yenta and a relentless gossip, and he obviously can't take a joke.
Now,
he's a yenta.
Have you talked to Pam Anderson about Julian Assange? Because she's talked to Julian Assange, and maybe you talked to Pam Anderson.
I have not talked to Pam Anderson, but I sure would like to.
Okay.
Yeah, she still looks pretty good.
She does.
She's
holding
terrific.
up. She's holding up.
One of my personal favorites, as a matter of fact.
Better than Stormy Daniels?
Oh, yeah, not even close.
Oh, gosh.
Now, what do you think happens with Assange? I mean, does he just stay there, or does the Ecuadorian embassy eventually just toss him out? Because I think that a court said that he has to be arrested.
I think that's the key point here. Why is any of this significant? Here's why they claim it's significant. You see, if you buy the idea that Assange is a Russian agent and that WikiLeaks is not a news organization but a Russian front, well, then under those circumstances, theoretically, receiving something from them, passing it on to Donald Trump, could be construed as treasonous. There's two problems with that. One, Assange is not a Russian agent. Just because the intelligence agencies say he is, that doesn't make it so. These are the people who told us Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. These are the people who told us, no, there's no metadata collection program for Americans. And then, of course, Edward Snowden proved they were lying. These are the people who lied about the Vietnam War. These are people who lied about Iran-Contra. I mean, they lie for a living. Why would anybody believe anything John Brennan says? This guy's up to his nose in formulating the phony dossier that they turned around and used as the legal rationale for spying on the Republican candidate for president. So think about that for a second. Nixon has, theoretically, or Nixon's people have 8 disgruntled but privately employed Cubans break into the Watergate. They don't plant bugs that achieve anything. In fact, they never plant any working bugs, but it's the biggest scandal in American history. Obama uses the power and the authority of the state to spy on Donald Trump, and he uses a phony rationale of misconduct in Russia based on a phony dossier to justify it. This thing is set up from the beginning, and somebody's got to go to jail for it.
Well, do you think government agencies are saying Assange is a Russian just because what he's exposing? It's a way to kind of discount what he's exposing as well.
Well, he's deeply embarrassed the American government because he keeps proving that they lie to us, which is why they don't like him. But in 11 years that WikiLeaks has been publishing, no one has ever questioned the accuracy or the authenticity of anything he's produced. You can't say that about the Washington Post or the New York Times.
That's true.
Sean Hannity's gone there and interviewed him in London several times. Does that make Sean Hannity a traitor? Of course not.
Do you think
Assange is not a Russian, so their whole theory here falls apart. Now, I have written and said that he's not a Russian and made the case that he's not a Russian. He's a journalist. He does what journalists do, which is to get classified or confidential information from whistleblowers and publish it. That's what the Post does. That's what the New York Times does. That's what WikiLeaks does. And I've been saying that for 2 years. But then you have Ari Melber say, you see, by declaring that Assange is not a Russian, Stone is trying to move the goalposts so that his actions would not be considered criminal. No, Avi, there are no actions. I never got anything from these guys, never passed anything on. But he's not a Russian either. You lose.
What's that guy's problem with you? Why is that guy so in
your
car?
Why doesn't he like
seems
you?
like that
let's just
MSNBC guy.
He worships Elliot Spitzer.
Oh.
That's his role model.
I worship
This
his
guy loves
lifestyle.
Elliot Spitzer, a
Outside of politics.
whoremongering criminal.
Oh, I see.
Now, do you think there's anything that Assange is sitting on? Like, do you think there's anything he has that he knows?
Pam Anderson's face.
I'm so jealous.
Of which one?
Pam. No, I think that I have no idea. I mean, I'm not privy to what they know and what
Sure.
they don't know. I'm shocked at the validity and the impact of some of the stuff that they have published. The guy's a journalist, and I think he's a brilliant one. I think he's being persecuted. They trump up these phony sex assault charges in Sweden. Those charges are ultimately dropped because they're a honey trap. They're a setup. So now he can't leave the embassy because of the outstanding warrant that pertains to a charge that's already been dropped. Think about that for a moment. So it's just harassment. I think his health is not good. The Ecuadorian embassy, which I drove by when I was in London this year to speak to the Oxford Union and the Durham Union Society and the Cambridge Union, which, by the way, had a great time with these students. Really, really interesting. This is a cramped, tiny little space that Ecuador actually shares with Colombia. Don't get the idea that Julian Assange is living in some opulence.
Right.
He's living in this cramped little, tiny 2-room or 1-room, who knows, compartment. And he can't leave for fear that he would be grabbed and extradited and tried for the crime of publishing classified information. Now, this is happening at the same time we have a movie out, The Post, celebrating the Washington Post's publication of classified information regarding the origins of the Vietnam War. So which is it? Is this an act of heroism or is this an act or is this a criminal act? I'd say the media needs to get their crap together.
That is true. Why are they allowed to publish classified things and he doesn't and he's a bad guy?
We can put it in the context
and in the
now
meantime,
of Vietnam
while I'm
is
delighted
bad.
to be with you guys,
Yes.
Anderson Cooper, Aaron Burnett, Jake Tapper, Chris Cuomo, begging me to come on CNN. Wait a minute. I'm banned at CNN.
Oops.
How could I come on? You guys banned me, remember?
Oh, but now they're begging you to come back.
Gee, how's that work?
What do you think of the Space Force that's being developed by our president?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Donald Trump announced that he wants to develop a
Space Force
program called the Space Force, and it would be for battles in space, for wars, and to defend ourselves from threats, both interplanetary and whatever, from the Earth and outside the Earth. And it would be called the Space Force.
I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to meet a book deadline for my next book, Stone's Rules, which will be out shortly. And it's kind of interesting. When I went to the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, eye-popping Adam Schiff, you know that guy?
I don't know him, no.
A congressman from California gives rise to that great political slogan, if it's Schiff, flush it. But this guy asks me, are you working on another book?
Eye-popping Adam.
And I said, yes, I am. He said, well, we're going to need the manuscript. And I said, excellent. It's a men's guide to how to dress. And Congressman, I think you could use it.